Welcome to the Natchitoches Folk Festival. This is our, well, we have various names for this session. This is our doll session, and these are narrative sessions where we let folk crafts people speak for themselves and tell you about what they do, why they do it. And so we'd like to thank some people before we start. And Shane gave me a list. Okay. The New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Festival, the Louisiana Office of Cultural Tourism Development, and Cane River Foundation, the City of Natchitoches, Louisiana Feed Your Soul. They didn't feed us. And the Louisiana Endowment for the Arts, State of Louisiana, and Shreveport Regional Arts Council. And so they support this festival, and we appreciate it. And we'll get a crowd here in a second. And I'll introduce these ladies and shut up. I am not a doll maker. So one of the crafts I know very little about. And so I have expertise. I don't need that. So I'm going to ask these people to introduce themselves and tell you what they do, and we'll let them start. So, Mrs. Nicole Delphin, you want to start?
Yes, I'm Nicole Delphin. I am a native here of Natchitoches, been here all my life, and just learning the different things that I have from my mother-in-law. My mother has just afforded me to be able to do a bunch of different type crafts, but today we're here talking about dolls, and I'm happy to be here with you.
I'm Rhonda Goche. I am from Sabine Parish. I'm a member of the Choctaw Apache tribe and also the Ho-Minty Society. So what we do pretty much in Ho-Minty is to preserve and teach our culture. So I teach the children, pretty much what things I learned from my grandparents growing up. And now that I'm retired, I just piddle. Some days I'll make corn shuck dolls, some days I'll make sock dolls, some days I'll embroidery. So I have lots of time to use my hands.
Hini, Stephanie Etisa, Teliani Mashakani. Hi, my name is Stephanie, and I make dolls. I'm a member of the Tunica Biloxi tribe out of Marksville. My grandmother was Tunica Biloxi, and she taught us to create things using our hands. She wanted to keep our hands and our minds busy. And she's no longer with us, but I'm sorry.
Okay.
But she lives in my hands and my heart.
That's beautiful. Well said.
I can't, I'm sorry, y'all.
That's okay. Well said. Well said. We're here.
It happens every time. It happens every time. It's okay. I'm okay now. Okay. Okay, Rhonda, go.
Rhonda, go. Rhonda, go.
Oh, I knew it was going to happen.
Turns to Rhonda because Rhonda likes to talk. Okay. Growing up on a farm, we grew everything that we ate. Animals, all our vegetables and things, and my dad hunted. But one thing we grew is a lot of corn. And like I said, we were taught to keep ourselves busy. And when we were outside during the day or playing around, we would make these little corn shuck dolls. And pretty much during harvest time, June is Native American harvest time for their corn. But you would make these little corn shuck dolls, and you could play with them, but you had to keep them all year from June on, and then the next year, the growing season, you just did away with that one, and then you would make new ones. It was like an annual, new thing. So, but also, I got my little sock babies here. My grandmother, she loved her quilting. She loved her embroidery, and she did a lot of hand sewing, but she taught us to make these little dolls to play with, and we also made rag dolls. So we could only make so many corn shuck dolls because we would get scolded. we grew a lot of corn, but our ladies made anywhere from 100 to 200 dozen tamales a week. And, when Mom's corn shucks started getting low, you didn't fool with her corn shucks anymore. So we went to sewing the dolls. And like I said, we made a lot of rag dolls, like the ones that Nicole's got, but we made sock babies also. And this is my Casey doll. It's a little girl that I work with at Cane River National Heritage Area. Her hair is real black and it's like this. So I was sitting one day making this little doll and I figured, I'm gonna make a Casey doll and give it to Casey. So this is her doll when I get finished with it today. She came in earlier claiming her doll. But, growing up, long time ago, we didn't have like permanent markers. But this one here, I just used a permanent marker and put its little eyes and its little face. So we embroidered everything on, like the eyes, and we sewed the little noses, and we used the yarn from my grandma's knitting scraps and her crocheting scraps, and we would make little hair for them. So that's my spiel about the dolls. Nicole?
So for me, it really stemmed from my mother-in-law, a big portion of the doll making, and this right here was what prompted me, because she made this for my husband, her son, because he loved to hunt and all of this, and I'm like, oh, you know what, I really love this idea. I'm like, let me see what I can do to dabble in this type craft, because I think it's really cool. So she showed me this, I'm kind of jumping a little bit, this is kind of like a rag doll, but from St. Augustine's Church is Augustine Matoir. So I'm thinking, I want to see what I can do with an Augustine Matoir doll. And so what I did was kind of put him together the best way I knew how, and I thought he turned out reasonably well. So, but just as Rhonda had said, that I didn't want to use marker or anything like that. I wanted to embroider the face on the doll. So when I thought this one turned out reasonable, I began the act of trying to make it a little bit bigger, and then I kind of stopped midway, so he's a little naked. Sorry about that, but I started to see just how well the embroidered would do if I did it a little bit bigger, and so far it started out okay. So my mission is to be able to finish him. So maybe next time we have this little lecture, I'll be able to have this Augustine done as well. One of the other things that I found that was unique, because in growing up, we never really had like some kids attach themselves to blankets or something and they suck their thumbs and they drag the floor. Well, my mother-in-law was telling me there was no way her grandchild was going to be having a blanket. So what she did was she created a doll for him to be able to come around. And so when I saw what she was talking about, I was like, you know what? That's really cute. So I started dabbling in a little bit on what she would do, and I used the yarn to do the eyes and the mouth, and just really simple. And of course, did the crocheting for the little hat. So I just kind of dabbled in that a little bit, and wish I could do a little more on the days today, but I'm busy. I'm not fortunate enough to be retired yet, but when I do retire, it's on like popcorn. She and I are going to be together, and we're going to be doing this all day long. So, but yes, so that's where this came about for me. But like I said, I wish I had a little more time to even do other things besides just doll making, like quilting and things like that I absolutely adore doing, that really came down from the older folks in the family, the grandparents, my grandmother, my mother would do. And so it just leads right on into this. So for me, and I love it. I absolutely enjoy it.
I come from a long line of really good quilters. So, and a lot of times they hand quilted everything, so you had to learn your stitches. And you had an elderly lady sitting there with you, if it was an aunt, a great aunt, or a grandma, and you had to get 12 stitches per inch. Wow. That's what they would tell you. That's what you got to learn, 12 stitches per inch. And this is how we learned to sew, and how to learn embroidery. And one of the great-granddaughters right now, she's crocheting. She's 9 years old, and she texts me sometimes, and I tell her, well, if you come, Momo will show you how to crochet more stuff, like little hats and little dolls and things. So she promised me next year she's going to come instead of going to gymnastics.
I'm not going to lose it this time, okay? But I came back from the Tunica Biloxi powwow, I think it was in May, and I had 50 pairs of jeans on my front porch, and I said, oh, geez. So that's how I make my dolls out of. I break down all the jeans, and then I sit down there, and I just throw everything around, and I say, okay, I'm going to make this today. Sometimes I wake up 2 o'clock in the morning, and I go in the craft room. My husband says, what are you doing up at 2 o'clock in the morning? I said, I'm making a doll. He says, you need to go back to bed because you are really losing your mind. But now when he sees what I do and how I make kids and people happy, because I give a lot of free things away, don't I, Vicki? Yeah, I do. I give a lot of free things away. But, I mean, it's my grandma all over again. You know, she could take this and make a beautiful whatever out of it, and this is what I come up with. So, and I do have a book on Amazon about a Native American woman that makes dolls. So that's it. I'm not going to lose it.
Awesome.
Vicki, got anything else to say? I mean, Ron, anything else to say? You sure?
But, you know, this type of thing is very simple. I mean, in the 70s, with my older children, like my son Derek and my daughter, and even the other boys, you know, they didn't want to play with dolls. But you remember the old work socks, the gray work socks with red heels? Perfect sock monkey dolls. We would make sock monkeys for the boys. And, you know, my son had a sock monkey, all my nephews had a sock monkey, my sisters and I, we just sit around and make the sock dolls, sock monkeys. And now I see people are making sock monkeys from all different colors of socks, you know, for girls and boys. But our boys, they didn't mind having their sock monkeys, but they didn't want to play with anything like this.
Very good. I just think about the long tube socks that we used to have. Years and years ago, they had the 2 red
Up to the knee.
colors around it, or whatever color it was, and you could take those socks and put that as the hat, cut the top part off with the color and use that as the hat on the sock babies. And so that's, I mean, I remember those as a kid coming up. So that was always fun to see. It's just amazing what you can do if you just stop long enough and sit down and just start doodling. You come up with anything. I mean, like, that's amazing, you know, all of the ways that you can make things out of anything.
Not even one little piece gets wasted.
That's good.
Everything gets used.
That's the way it should be.
I'm a recycler.
That's
so.
good. I love it.
Okay.
I love it.
So how much time we got left?
We're
Nicole.
open, Dr. Gregory, for questions.
Well, I've got a lot of questions.
Okay, go for it.
On Cane River, there's a long tradition. The bicentennial doll for Louisiana was made by a lady named Larry LaCour. She's a Creole lady from Cane River. And so there's a long doll tradition here. And it's part of the history of this whole community, starting with Mama Lair's dolls.
Right.
And and then now Nicole probably is the champion doll maker now. and her mother-in-law made dolls. And
Right.
so, but there's this long tradition here, and starting with Mama Lair's bicentennial doll, the dolls on the Cane River got a lot of notoriety. People knew they were making them. People were buying and selling them. And so, if you'd like to see those dolls, we have, I think, 3 of Mama Lair's dolls in the Creole Heritage Center over in Kaiser Hall. And but they all perpetuate certain Creole elements from the history of the community, and like the dress. And Grand-Père Augustin, it was Augustin Matoire, was kind of the patriarch of that community. And Nicole said last night that everybody's a Matoire. And I'll let you do that again. And but it's an old tradition there. In Rhonda's community, there's strong traditions about the corn shuck dolls. And so Saturday, a week ago, was it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Last Saturday.
She told a story about her corn shuck doll, and maybe I could get her to tell you that story again.
You gotta tell me, you gotta remind me which one I talked
about
too
the
much.
one that had no eyes. Why they have no eyes?
Oh, okay. In the culture, like Choctaw and Cherokee, most of the southeastern Indians, you know, people wonder, why do the dolls not have a face? Well, you know, the great corn spirit, you know, he made this wonderful, wonderful lady, you know, corn shuck lady, to watch over the children while everybody was out in the fields working. Well, every day, instead of watching the children, she was so beautiful, she would go to the lake and she just stared herself in the lake. Well, people started complaining, and he warned her 3 times. And on the 3rd time, when she went down and she was supposed to be watching the children, and she went to the lake to look at herself in the lake, but she had no face. So she couldn't see herself anymore. Although she was beautiful, you know, she had no face. And I mean, he did that to her because she was vain, her vanity, you know, and that's, she still could watch the children, but she would have no eyes, no mouth, no nose, she had no face. So he took her face away from her for not watching the children.
It's a neat story.
I need to write that down.
Absolutely.
Because I have no faces.
You have no
I
faces.
have no faces on my dolls.
Well, I put faces on mine because my great-granddaughters play with them.
There are, in the Tunica Biloxi tradition, there's a long doll tradition too. Right? They change a little bit over time. So a lot of them are, the ones I remember, are rag dolls, like y'all are talking about here. But they represent people in traditional clothes and traditional dress. We have some in the Williamson Museum. Anime Juno made some for us years ago, and so they're kind of traditional to the southeast. And when Stephanie started making dolls, I remember,
They weren't like this.
and she brought her first dolls to the folk festival here, and came with Tunica Biloxi, and said, you know, and she's come subsequently to our basket day in December too at the Williamson Museum, and she said, I'm salvaging scrap stuff, and whatever I can salvage, I'll make dolls out of it. She was making dolls out of all kinds of stuff.
Oyster shells.
Yeah, and they were
Yeah.
cool dolls, and I think you've been at it ever since, right?
Yeah, I quit for 1 year because when Ida hit, I lost everything in my house. So I didn't feel like doing anything. And my husband said, you better get back to making those dolls when we get back in our house. It took me a whole year.
Yeah.
So look, I'm back.
Yeah.
I'm back. And I'm happy.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
So, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, dolls and anything to play with for children that they could make. When I was growing up, I mean, you didn't have a cell phone. You did not watch TV all day. We had TV time. And if we snuck up to Momo's house, you know, our grandma's house, she'd be like, no, you're not watching TV. Go find something to do. I mean, we'd go to the edge of the woods. We'd make stick figures. We'd make stick dolls. Yes. And we had all our little tables and everything set out. For Christmas, you know, of course, it was 4 girls in my family and 1 boy. But it was all stuff like we would get the little picnic tables, all the little ironing boards and everything for Christmas presents. Well, we had our own little place, a little village out in the edge of the woods where we would go play. And we would make all our little stick figures, we'd make all our little dolls and go out there and play, because if you got a porcelain doll for Christmas, you didn't want to take it outside and play with. These things, you know, you throw in the washing machine and wash, but we would go out there and play with we would have our own little homes out there, you know, and the boys would come around trying to fool with our things, and we'd beat them up with sticks and run them off. Because I had cousins, and even my brother, you know, they didn't come over there fooling with the girls, because if we even went and told our mama that they were fooling with our stuff, she would put them to work in the field or somewhere, so they knew if they started messing with our dolls and everything, they'd have to go work in the fields or go work with Daddy building fences, and they didn't want to do that. But doll tradition, you know, homemade dolls is something that we always had. And like I said, with sewing, it was a step to learning how to make quilts and clothing even, because I learned how to sew. Does anybody know what a treadle machine is? Okay, I learned to sew on a treadle machine. my grandma had a big one, and it was on her porch. And we would go and sew quilts together for her, or she made what we call patch quilts, or she would make the blocks, and we would have to design a thing to put on it. We'd either have to embroidery for a square, or we would have to put like a little boy or a little girl, or farm figures we would cut out and sew on the square. So we had to learn to sew all of those things together, and like I said, this was just one step to learning how to make those stitches to sew. And we used scraps. My daddy was a big man, so we used his old shirts, we used his old pants, to sew quilts and stuff. My grandparents were born in the 1890s, so my grandma still wore the long skirts like Miss Vicky's got on here, the gathered skirts and the waist and everything, and her aprons. And so we would use those when she would tear them apart to either make rag rugs, and that's another story. I hate making the rugs. I'll tell you why in a little bit. But we would make dolls out of scraps, and we would make, quilts and stuff from the fabric scraps. We would even make the little kids in the family, right now I'm making my granddaughter what they call a pillowcase dress, a sack dress.
Oh, yeah.
So those were something that was really, we did it out of flour sacks for the little kids, in our family. And when I say the little kids, where I lived, it was our house, our grandparents were next door, and then, you had uncles and aunts, and we had all of our extended family, like first cousins, living around us. So when, we learned to sew little clothes for the little kids. But the rugs, we used to have to braid the strips of fabric together, sew them up to make the oval rugs, which that's not the bad part. The bad part was when Maman, she was getting old, and she could not beat them out with the broom. We would have to take them suckers apart, wash the scraps, re-braid them, and sew them back together.
Oh, wow.
So, it was like a chore. It wasn't something that was, fun anymore when you had to remake the oval rugs.
Rhonda, I have a question for you, if you don't mind. So, what you're saying about making your dolls back in the day, because that's the part that I didn't get to do, right? But was it kind of like the way, I would cook, just kind of throw stuff together? Did you have a pattern, or
Yes.
did you do freehand?
Yes.
Okay.
We
That's
would
what I was
have,
wondering.
as a matter of fact, the rag doll pattern I had, I was looking for it, because I have so much stuff. And you're talking about your craft room. I have so much stuff. Look at my son, he knows. So, yesterday when I was sitting at the park, out there, I took some light cardboard and I cut out a pattern for a rag doll. So I told the little girl, she said, "Well, Miss Rhonda, what you doing?" Her name is Taylor. I said, "I'm cutting me out another rag doll pattern." She said, "Well, how do you know how to do that?" I said, it just comes natural.
Right.
So I cut me out another rag doll pattern. And, and all the patterns for the quilt squares, my grandma, she had them. She had cut them out. What about you?
Don't look at me again.
Hey, well, did y'all ever have patterns, or you just put them
No,
together?
my grandma would just take a piece of material and just and it was, I don't know how to explain it to you. She was a miracle worker with scraps of
artist.
stuff. Yeah.
She's an artist.
And you have that art now, too?
And I am now. I'm the miracle worker.
There you
Well,
go.
this is a pattern that was used, so that's something that I kind of put together myself to try to come up with this type doll here. So it was definitely a pattern that I used as well.
Yeah.
You don't have any classes on how to make
No, I don't have any classes. We don't, not locally.
Sounds like something to do.
Okay, Robert. I see that hand.
Well, I really appreciated the story about the F3 doll, but could you all explain something about the inspirations for your specific dolls that are made there, if you have any?
Okay, so for me, it's the Augustin Matoire, because this is my lineage from down Cane River. and so that's what I wanted to do, something personal for me that even my son, maybe one day, it could be handed down to. I just wanted to be able to try to kind of lean towards that, and that's why I did Augustine Matoir, so.
Oh,
Good question.
me, you know, when we were growing up and doing this, when my grandma, she would make one and she would say, "Oh, look, baby, this is an Aunt Ruby doll." And it would look like Aunt Ruby, you know, or this is Aunt Dale doll. This is your Popo doll, you know, and she'd have a big old doll and it was big man, you know. And I could look at you and sit here and I say, "Oh, I'm gonna make a Robert doll," just like I did Casey. And I'll make a doll in your image. So just whatever inspires you to do it. There's no set pattern.
Mine depend on the size of the pockets.
What made you start doing specific things like alligators? I know you.
Well, yeah, the alligators are made out of jean belts. Look, you know the part of the jean that's a belt? That came to me at 3 o'clock in the morning. I woke up and made an alligator.
Alligator, not a bear.
Because a lot of the stories that my brother and sister tell, that my grandma used to tell, are about the alligator, the blue and the red alligator. And I forgot the one about the turtle, but they both know all the stories because I didn't pay attention back then. I didn't want to listen to it, but I wish I would have because I know a lot more. But that's why I make the alligators.
Yeah.
They're just regular. They're not blue and red. They're just denim. So. Is that okay, Vicki?
They're cute.
But really, if the size of the pocket depends on the size of the doll, you know, because this is one doll right here. So I need more jeans. Think about it.
Inspiration is found in random places.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed.
Yes.
I hate centipedes. I will a centipede
I didn't want to say this because my sister said really don't bring it up, but the one person that inspired me the most was Joseph Paree Jr. That was my sister's father-in-law, who used to be the chief of the tribe before he passed away. And I used to get upset because people would say, "Oh, voodoo dolls, voodoo dolls." And he said, "Don't pay no mind to those people, just keep making your dolls." And then he passed away and I'm still making the dolls, so I guess he did something right. He told me what to do, so.
That's good.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not gonna cry this time though.
No, don't cry.
Is anybody else at Tunica Biloxi making dolls besides you?
No, not that I know of.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like just a few of us are keeping the,
Yeah.
you know, like my brother makes the China berry and corn necklaces that my grandma used to make when we were younger. He makes that now, so, yeah. We're just the last of the tradition, I guess. I don't know.
I think Nicole's got a monopoly just about now, unless you got students.
No,
No.
no.
Rhonda, you're teaching somebody.
Well, I've not taught. We did corn shuck dolls at Culture Camp.
Yeah.
You know, we had our 3rd annual Culture Camp this year at North Toledo Bend State Park. Homenti did. And so, you know, I had a lady work with the corn shucks to make dolls. And the kids enjoy it. They enjoy making the corn shuck dolls. They enjoyed grinding the corn more than anything. But yeah, they enjoyed the corn shuck dolls.
Do you have any culture grants to
We could. We have, we were having monthly things, something different each month. But you know, right now we don't have anything planned until we get over Culture Camp with 40 kids. Yeah. But, you know, if you'll look on Homenti's Facebook page or website, you know, most of the time when we're going to have something, we will advertise it. And, you know, and it's going to be at this day, this time, you know, and you'll find out. It's Homenti Society. It's like my t-shirt. It's my t-shirt. Look, right here. Right here. Look, Vicky's got a...
She's ready and prepared.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say something, Chris. If anybody's ever in Washington, D.C. at the National Museum of American Indians, I have some dolls on display that I made when I was up there for the Living Earth Festival, so.
My mom used to make Indian dolls, you know, and she'd crochet all their hats and all
Mhm.
that. And she sewed them, and that's how she traveled to Washington, D.C.
Yes.
All the dolls she sewed, paid for.
Yeah. Yeah.
She still knows how to do it.
That was an experience I'll never forget, so.
One of the things I'll say, because when you kind of touched base on the dolls on Cane River a moment ago, Dr. Gregory, yes, the Mama dolls, but my mother-in-law is Isabel, was Isabel Sylvie Delphin, but she called her dolls the Dolls. And so and it was really crazy because we lived down south for a little while, but we'd come back through Leesville, and there was a Native American store there somewhere in Leesville. And we pulled in one day to go and see what all they just happened to have in there. And I knew that she had sold some dolls before, but I just didn't know where or who to. So we walked in, and we're looking around, and all of a sudden I see this beautiful Native American doll, and I'm thinking, that looks like an Doll. I'm telling that to FJ. I should have brought her. And we bought it because I asked them to let me look at it. And of course, she signs them on the back, right about here on the back. And so when I looked at that doll and saw that it was the Doll, I bought it, and I came back home and showed it to her. And instead of her being happy for me, she's like, you could have paid me for one. But yeah, so it was just very interesting that I just walked out of the blue into this place, not realizing this is where she had sold some of her dolls, and found one. And so she's my prized possession. I leave her on my camera.
Yeah, the family traditions, at least on the river here, about the dolls. And Mama Lair made one doll for each of her daughters, I think it was. And she had a whole armoire full of dolls. And each one had a name attached to it for one of the girls. And so it's a family tradition of passing on people. Like,
Right.
there's FJ. There's FJ.
Yeah, exactly, FJ. Well,
Yeah.
you say that, Dr. Gregory, but even when FJ and I got married, the gifts that we purchased for ourselves were the Mama Leia dolls. It was a bride and a groom. And so we have them on display also at the house.
Yeah, the bride-groom traditions used to be a lot stronger. And they had music. They had special songs in French for the bride and family and the groom's family. And so that tradition of exchanging gifts like that is very old on the river. Some of the older Tunica Biloxi dolls are dance dolls. They're all dressed for the dance.
I wish I knew where there was
the women
Probably at the
dress,
museum.
and the men wear little vests, different colors. And so if you see photographs from people who are going to the dances, who've been to the dances, and the dolls were pretty close to that, or they tried to make them pretty close to that. So they tell stories with it. Any more questions? You're doing too good. What about bottle dolls? Y'all ever see a bottle doll?
A what?
A bottle doll. Yeah, made them out of bottles.
Bottles?
Yeah, like wine
Oh,
bottles.
a bottle doll.
Water
Yeah,
bottles.
Yeah.
yeah. We had one lady, Miss Marcy Williams. She made a lot. She had one that she had made, but she did a lot of pine needle stuff too.
Yeah,
She made
I
dolls out of pine needle, and she used yarn instead of raffia to put them together.
Yeah, they used to make them out of, when I was a kid, they made them out of bottles, and they'd stick a cork in the top for the head, and then they decorate the bottle. And a lot of them were crochet dresses that fit over the bottles.
Right.
And so inside the crochet, there was a wine bottle or some kind of bottle, and the bottle dolls. I hadn't seen one in a long time. Yeah.
I've never in my lifetime seen a bottle doll, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Because I'm interesting. I had not heard of a bottle doll before.
Yeah.
Am I dating myself?
Yeah. Date me.
Because I seriously
Yeah.
haven't, but that's cool.
My dad's mother was, Upland Anglo. She made ones with both with Coke bottles, but also with dishwashing detergent.
Yeah. That's probably
It had that sort of like lady figure.
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
And,
That's smart.
And she was a crocheter. And so
Ah,
she crocheted
okay.
those.
Yeah.
Good idea.
Yeah. But some of them
Wow.
were pretty large, and some of them, like you say, were small. It varied a lot as to what they made. The relationship between dolls and quilts, you know, and I grew up in households where they quilted all the time. And when I was a little kid, I learned to leave because they put you at the edge of the table, and you'd have to thread the needles.
Yeah.
The old ladies couldn't see to thread the needles, so they keep you there threading needles all day long. Sit there and thread the needles. And so quilting's got a very negative connotation. It's sort of like you and the rag rugs.
That's it. Sort of like me and the
I got
rag rugs.
Nothing but bad memories about threading those needles. The idea of making stuff out of what's at hand, you know, scraps and odds and ends, is neat. Yes, ma'am.
Hey, I am one of those lost generations. My mom could, she sews, she crochets, she does everything. My mama was from France, and she lived in Florida. I don't know how they got over here on this. That's just the weirdest thing, from France to Florida. But anyway, they used to make ragged ends, they make the monkey dolls.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the brown socks and everything with a red band and everything, but because I'm left-handed, they said I was wrong-handed. So they would not teach me anything, wouldn't let me in the kitchen, wouldn't let me in the soup, you know, because they couldn't get from
Right.
doing things right-handed to transfer to backwards to a left-handed. So that, you know, so I'm going to just be a lost generation.
Yeah. They had no buttons on them, right? Amish.
I know how to sew a button on my dad. My dad taught me to sew a button.
Yeah. I've seen Amish dolls with no buttons at all on them, you know, and there's something about, there's a reason for that. I don't know what it is. Yeah. And there's a very strong Amish doll tradition too. They're very distinctive. Yeah. I guess every ethnic group had its own doll, some
I'm
kind
sure.
of doll. And,
He was referencing Amish dolls. It's a pretty strong culture there as well.
Yeah, they're very strong Amish doll traditions.
Actually, in the art classes down there, they're doing more about, I see them, they make monkey dolls at that kind of junior high. They're doing the dollmaking, and they're doing crocheting, bringing those
Good.
arts back into the, spending time with that. 6 weeks, 9 weeks with that, doing that.
I'm glad to hear
They're
that.
introducing all that in there, because when you look at the art, there are, we have big art shows in our school and stuff. You'll see when they do the texture, and that, things with, fiber with rocks and everything.
That's good.
It's going back to the schools.
Are the future generations gonna pick up on the concept of doll making, in you guys' opinion? What do you think? What do you say?
Sure. I got one back there. She says she's going to come spend time with me. It's my granddaughter, so she can learn. Yeah. And my son Darren, he's learning to work right now with cordage, but he wants to learn how to do the same stuff with leather to make whips. Because my daddy and him made whips. My grandpa made whips.
We're just saying that the young generation, that new generation, seem to kind of be preoccupied
With cell phones.
With cell phones.
Well, that's why we have our culture camp every summer now.
Excellent.
Which is
to
beautiful.
I mean, even if we have 20 children,
Yeah.
you know, and they learn one thing during culture camp, that's more than they learned when they got there. So that's why we started culture camp.
Excellent.
At our culture camp, every craft we make, guess who is in charge of it? And it's all recycled materials, of course. We don't spend any money. I have a zero budget, so it takes us all year to save up sky tile rolls and, can lids and plastic lids and stuff, and that's it.
A long time ago, we used to have horses and mules, and it would cut the mane.
Hair.
Did folks do any crafts work with that hair in the form of toys or dolls?
Not toys. I don't remember any toys.
Dolls that
Yeah.
would weave it and
I don't, I never saw him do anything with the hair and stuff, except rope. You know,
Rope,
And
yeah.
we've all heard about hay babies. A hay baby.
Yeah, hey baby. Hey baby. It's sort of like the same thing as a corn shuck doll.
You ever heard the saying, somebody was, oh, he's mad as a hay baby with a match in his hand? I was wondering about a hay baby. I was wondering what, if y'all ever heard of that?
No. We,
That must just be men's talk from down Cane Road.
it must be just men's talk, because, I mean, all the hay and corn and dried peas and everything we had went to the cows and the horses and the hogs. So, except, like I said, we made corn chuck dolls until Mama started getting low on corn chucks. 'Cause they made a lot of tamales in our community when we were growing up. So,
Well, you made a lot of other shuck stuff.
huh?
You made a lot of other corn shuck stuff.
Made corn chuck stuff like rope.
Yeah, like rope.
Yeah. Rope, and they would use it to put in chair seats and chair backs, and the corn silks, they made medicine from. They used everything on the corn, from the corn stalk. I saw some brooms out here. I was telling my granddaughter, I said, I remember them. I said, but, they don't last too long in a country home. Cats and the dogs tear them up. They just keep making the brooms.
What were you gonna say?
Oh, from corn
Were you
shucks,
gonna
you
say
can make
something a minute ago?
baskets.
Yeah,
That's another thing you can make from them.
yeah.
Shoes, chumpas.
I think Vicki
Yeah,
wants to
thank
ask you a
y'all very
question.
much. This
Vicky?
has been great, yeah.
You're
It's been
welcome.
fun, so.
I'm
Is there
sorry
any
I
other
lost
questions?
it though. I really am. I'm so sorry. I feel so very.